Hello students. In this session, we will talk about very important topic, that is positivism and its critique. It is directly there in your syllabus and you will get direct questions. Alternate years, you will get questions from this topic. So if this year, let's suppose positivism is asked, next year you will be for sure getting a question on non-positivism. And there is a possibility that you may get both together also. Okay. So you need to have a very good idea about positivism because this is one of the initial perspective which is actually used in sociology. So what we will do is we will discuss about the context, or I'll give you the skeleton of your answer. So the structure should be like this. First you need to talk about the context. Okay, then you should talk about what you mean by positivism in general, and in sociology, is there any difference in the initial positivism? Okay, so is there any difference in sociological positivism? If so, we will discuss that also. In general, positivism means the positivist approach in general, maybe natural science, etc. Okay, so what is the difference in sociological positivism? Sociological positivism, I'll teach you this and then we will see the critique part. Okay, so before we write about criticism, we will talk about the contribution. Okay, we will talk about the contribution. As I have told you, any critical analysis question, after discussing about the introduction and that particular item which is given, if it is positivism, we will talk about positivism. So then what we will do is we will follow this formula CCR. The first C is related to contribution. The next C is related to your topic, that is criticism. Then you will write about the criticism of this positivism, and because of these criticism only new perspective emerged. So the salient features of non-positivism will be the criticism here. Okay, so it will be very easy for you to write criticism here because non-positivism anyway you are studying separately. So the most important elements of non-positivism will be the criticism here. Okay, then finally this R is relevance. So you will conclude your answer by saying the relevance of positivism. Even though criticisms are there, even though new methods and perspectives are there, why still positivism is relevant in sociology? So that should be a positive note, and you will be concluding your answer with a positive note. So your answer should look like this. And now what I'll do is I'll give you the content to fix on each of these paragraphs. Okay, so what is the context? I hope all of you know the context of positivism. So already I've told you this in many times in our previous discussions. So any question from your first three chapters, you should be starting your answer with the emergence of sociology. So the first line will be always related to emergence of sociology. So in your answer, this is how you're going to proceed. The first line you will write about emergence of sociology, like you will write, sociology emerged in response to challenges posed before modernity in medieval Europe. So there you have actually incorporated emergence of sociology completely. You talked about medieval Europe, you talked about modernity, you talked about social challenges or changes. Everything is there in that particular sentence. Okay, then what happened? Initial sociologists attempted to make sociology on the line similar to natural sciences, right? We have talked about Auguste Comte. He stressed on forming, or framing universal laws of social organization. Why? To make sociology on the line similar to natural science. Why this attempt to make sociology similar to natural science? Because that time, this is a very young discipline, right? Sociology emerged in 1838, a very young discipline. So among the academicians or the intellectuals, if you need to get that acceptance or to get that initial legitimacy, you need to claim that this is scientific discipline. Otherwise, nobody is going to accept this particular discipline, which is altogether new and which is just emerged to study the social changes in medieval Europe. So to get that initial acceptance, what the initial sociologists did is they tried to use the methods directly from natural sciences, and they tried to make claims that this discipline is similar to natural science. And they wanted to make it on the line similar to natural science because of this reason, to get that initial acceptance. Because in that time, intellectuals and the academicians, even the common men also are so obsessed with the science, especially natural science. And that's the reason why you can see initial sociologists are so concerned when we talk about Auguste Comte. already I have told you he stressed on framing universal laws of social organization, and in fact he have made laws, but later that laws were rejected because of a lot of logical errors. Okay, and if you remember, when we talk of emergence of sociology, I told you about Saint Simon. He even thought of social physics, which is similar to natural science physics, and he thought that laws of social organization should be made similar to the laws in physics, like Newton's laws, etc. Okay, and similarly, if you remember, when we talked about Herbert Spencer, I've told you he compared society with an organism, and all these are showing what the concern of initial sociologists to make sociology on the line similar to natural science. Okay, so initially what they can do is they have applied the methods directly from natural science, or the perspectives directly from natural science, and that's what exactly done, and that is the context of this discussion of positivism. Positivism is connected to science. So now sociologists is actually using positivism in sociology because of their emphasis on science. Okay, so science is understood more in terms of if you are using positivist methods. Okay, so that is why positivism initial perspective used in sociology. Why positivism is used as initial perspective? Because of this obsession towards science. What are the main elements of positivism? If you see, main elements of positivism are empiricism. That means true knowledge is something which could be objectively observed, something which is quantifiable, the empirical reality, the realities which could be seen, which could be quantified, which could be observable. So that is related to science. Science is never dealing with internal aspects, internal emotions, love, all these feelings, right? Science is studying only external reality. Even Comte argued that sociologists should not study the internal meanings or motives, etc. But when it comes to Weber, if you remember, when we discussed about scope of sociology, I've talked about Weber using a micro perspective. He gave importance to internal aspects like the meanings, motives, etc. And he tried to establish the cause and effect relationship by understanding the meanings attached by the actor to his action. So he gave importance to internal aspects. So that is actually a deviation from positivism, and from there non-positivism will come. So non-positivism will give importance to internal aspects. Okay, and for sociology that is more important because you are dealing with human beings. When you're dealing with matter, you don't want to consider the emotions or internal aspects. Only external aspects is enough, and you can quantify everything. But when you are dealing with human beings, internal meanings, motives, emotions, everything need to be considered for the better understanding, and all these cannot be quantified also. So whether positivism is directly possible in sociology or not is a big question, and that is the reason for use of non-positivism in sociology. And later it is understood that non-positivism is better in understanding in sociology and social sciences. Okay, so positivism is stressing on empiricism, naturalism. Naturalism means material reality is supreme and is the reason or the core of social order. Okay, then inductivism. Inductivism, I have already told you before, inductivism is actually a method of theory building. Okay, and inductivism is a method which is used in natural science for theory building. When it comes to social science, later it is understood that deductivism is better. Okay, so social science deductive approach is better, natural science inductive approach is better. So if you see positivism, these are the three core elements of positivism. So I've told you need to talk about the context. We talked about the context, emergence of sociology, and the concern of initial sociologists. Then we are talking about positivism. So positivism is all about these three ideals: empiricism, inductivism, naturalism. Now in sociology, who introduced positivism? I have told you already, Auguste Comte. So Auguste Comte introduced sociological positivism, a small deviation from this positivism. Okay, in sociology, the positivism, they are not following purely empiricist or purely inductivist, because you are dealing with human beings. Okay, so there is a small deviation in sociology, but even then, if you see positivism or the main elements of positivism, in sociology, you are giving importance to external realities. So this is the most important point: external realities. Stress on studying external realities, those realities which could be seen, those realities which is observable, those realities which could be quantified, because you are using an inductive approach, you are using quantitative approach. Okay, so you should study only those items which could be quantified, which could be observed, which are external, not internal, because you can't quantify that. So that is the first and most important element of positivism in sociology. Okay. Second one, you should be using scientific methods. Okay. So you should be using scientific methods. Okay, and we will discuss enough examples. A lot of methods are devised and a lot of methods are used also. For example, in the beginning, you know what the sociologists did, as I've told you, directly they started using methods from natural science. For example, even if you talk about Durkheim, there is a classic study of Durkheim, the theory of suicide. In that he used statistical techniques. Okay, that is direct method from natural science. So initial sociologists, in the beginning they used methods directly from natural science, and you can quote this example. Durkheim, in his theory of suicide, he used statistical techniques which is directly from natural science. But later Durkheim himself, when he conducted his study on theory of religion, he devised his own method. He used comparative method, he used indirect experiment. All these are methods which are specifically devised for social sciences. Okay, so use of scientific methods is very important when it comes to positivism. Initially what we did is we used methods directly, we borrowed from natural science, but later we have developed our own methods. Okay, so that's about scientific method. Then the third one, theories. Okay, you need to make theories. That is very important when it comes to positivism, because natural science is making theories. So if you are claiming that you are also similar to natural science, or your discipline is scientific, you have to make theories. So initial emphasis of the positivist or sociologist, you can see they all emphasize on theories. Durkheim, you can see a lot of theories. Marx, there are a lot of theories. Marx is not a positivist. Okay, to an extent he is a positivist. We can't say positivist because he is not a pure sociologist also. But Durkheim was a pure sociologist. Marx is more of a philosopher or a political scientist or economist. But since his concern towards sociology or society, we are considering him as sociologist, and his contribution is immense, and we are taking that theories also in sociology, because in all his theories there is a concern towards society. Apart from that, Marx, I won't say Marx is a pure sociologist. Okay, to an extent you can consider him as sociologist. Okay, but Durkheim, he wrote as pure sociologist. Weber is a pure sociologist. Okay, so Durkheim's approach is related to, similar to natural science. He is giving importance to macro, he is giving importance to external realities. He is a positivist, he was a positivist. Okay, so he was also making theories. Auguste Comte also made theories which he claimed that universally applicable, but later proved wrong. We'll discuss that. Not only theories. Okay, here one more important element is there, prediction. If you remember, when we discussed about emergence of sociology, sociology emerged because of problems in medieval Europe after modernity. Okay, the problems posed by modernity. That is a context of sociology, and I've told you to explain these changes and also to provide solution and also to predict the future of society. A new body of knowledge is required, and that's the context for sociology. So prediction is also considered important. Okay, because a body need to be scientific, a body of discipline need to be scientific, means you should predict, you should generalize. In natural science it is possible, but there are obvious limitations in sociology. That we will discuss when we discuss criticism. But as of now, you write the elements of positivism. Okay, so prediction and testability also. So you should be in a position to test those theories which you have made. So these are the important elements. What you need to know is, I'm just talking about those important elements. This is what you need to know. The language in which I have put here may be different. That is my language, so you can change and you will be in a position to write better answers if you know these content. Only thing that you need to know is, I hope you understood the context. That anyway you can write. If you have attended the first 3 sessions, you know the context very well. And once you understood the context, then we have talked about what is positivism, and these 3 elements is what you need to remember. You just explain that. What is empiricism, what is naturalism, what is inductivism. Then what you need to remember is these elements. So this is how you will prepare the synopsis, and towards the end you will not be reading the entire textbooks, because once we complete the sociology you will have huge content. If we are writing in the class, we will have 4 huge notebooks with the students, but since I am giving the PDF, I could complete it easily. At the same time, even then you are reading almost the same content, so it will be huge towards the end. Even though this is to the point for exam and crisp information, okay, only core informations are given, but still it will be huge towards the end if you see. So this is the way you need to prepare the synopsis. and you will be reading the synopsis, and you should be in a position to understand everything just by seeing the synopsis towards the end, and that's when you can say that you know sociology. Okay, now if you have any doubt related to your preparation, sociology or any GS subject, you can get in touch with me here. That's my Instagram ID. You can follow me over there. You join the Telegram channel, you'll get all my videos over there. And still, if you need to talk to me over phone, you can message me. Okay, this is my number, 9790-892-697. Okay, so for regular classes, online classes, you can contact me. We have the direct classes also. So let's continue with this discussion. We have talked about the positivism. Now what we need to do, we will simply say contribution, some contribution we will say like positivism provided that initial legitimacy, okay, and all those things we can say, and then we will move on to criticism. Now once we know this part, elements, criticizing, I don't think you will face any problem. Only this much you need to know. Now let's take this external reality. How will you criticize? What you will say is, if you are focusing on study of only external realities, it is a partial understanding of society. It is a fundamental misunderstanding of society. Why? Because you are dealing with individuals. Individuals have their own emotions. The internal meanings are more important than the external reality. So if you are avoiding the study of internal meanings and motives, emotions of the individual, that's a partial understanding of society. And you can also write example here. For example, non-positivism give emphasis on internal meanings. Okay, so that's how you can criticize. So when you criticize, you have to write like this. The problem with external realities you should write, and then you also need to say here, you need to bring non-positivism here. How you will bring that? For example, non-positivist perspective give importance to internal meanings. With that, you are talking about non-positivism also. Okay, so I hope that criticism is done. So first you will criticize by bringing internal meanings, because positivism is studying only external aspects. That's a partial understanding of reality. Then you talk about the scientific methods. What I have told you in scientific methods, initially you try to use directly the methods from natural science. And example, I have told you Durkheim's method. Okay, so Durkheim used methods from natural science, that is statistical techniques, but that was also criticized. The reason is, see, his study he conducted was suicide, okay, and he collected statistical techniques, but the data he collected was not correct. There are a lot of ambiguities, there are a lot of vagueness and issues with the data he collected, and then that study is not correct, right? Because see, the suicides which are reported, you will get, and you got it from some police stations only. Okay, you will not be able to collect it from everywhere, and the data he collected itself was wrong. See, some of the cases of suicides might not have been reported because of the taboo or stigma attached with it. Okay, or some of the cases of suicides might have been reported as accidents. Some of the cases of accidents may be real suicides also. You are just going and driving, you know that you are going to die and you want to die, and you drive and you hit the car and you died. It will be mostly classified as accident, but in reality it will be suicide. So those data may not be available, so it was criticized. Okay, similarly later I have told you Durkheim, they devised methods specific to sociology that also have problems like personal biases, problems in application, etc. So that we can criticize this point also. I am taking point to point, I am criticizing point to point. Word to word, if you want, you can criticize. Point to point, sentence to sentence, you need to criticize, and you can criticize. And that's how beautifully you can write the answer. And that's a better critical analysis. Okay, so whatever we are writing it in good way, and after that, immediately after writing all these good positive elements, then we are criticizing in a much better way, even more better way. That shows your understanding. Okay, so theories. I've told you a lot of theories are there, but these theories are not practically applicable. You claim that universally applicable. Just before I've told you, Comte claimed that his theories are universally applicable on social organization, but a lot of logical errors that have been proved wrong. Now I've told you about suicide theory of Durkheim. That is also not universally applicable. Okay, theory of religion. All those theories framed by sociologists are not universally applicable. Okay, but if you need to support, there may be some theories like Parsons' theory of social system, etc. These are universally applicable, but understanding the theory itself is a big problem. So forget about application. Okay, so all these are criticisms. Then prediction. See, prediction in sociology is a distinct reality. You're dealing with human being, never even think of prediction. better try to explain the problem only. That's the maximum you can do in case of sociology and with the individuals. You can never predict what is going to happen with the individual, and you can never predict the behavior of individual. So prediction in sociology is a distinct reality. Okay, if you remember before, I've told you sociologists should refrain from studying what ought to be. Rather, sociologists should study what it is. Don't go for prediction. That will never be true like natural sciences. So testing, it will be obvious limitations are there for testing. So these are the problems or the critiques of positivism. But you can conclude it with relevance. Still it is relevant because there's a very practical approach, okay, and it gave that initial legitimacy, etc. By using some positive notes you can conclude. So this is how your answer should look like. Now I hope you understood. Now what I'll do is I'll take up the note or the PDF and I'll explain each and every word over there. If you have any doubt, you can ask me later. So here, positivism and its critique. So positivism as a perspective was one of the initial attempt to understand the social world in a systematic manner. Yes. So first what you need to write here is, you need to write emergence of sociology in one sentence. Sociology emerged in response to challenges posed before modernity in medieval Europe. Then you talk about this. In sociology, positivism during 19th century had an overwhelming influence of natural science. I've told you this point. It was an attempt to visualize the social world by using intellectual parameters employed by natural science. Yes. It aims at understanding the social world as a sequence of cause and effect relationship between objects that one can observe. Okay. So it is basically trying to establish cause and effect relationship. That's what exactly science also do. As a theoretical perspective, positivism is divided by three interrelated ideologies, as I have told you: empiricism, naturalism and inductivism. It is given here what is empiricism. It advocates foundation of knowledge in terms of observation. Observation means external realities. That means we need to quantify, okay, because you are using mostly quantitative techniques in inductive approach. In scientific approach we won't use qualitative. So we won't collect text, we collect numbers, we collect data in terms of numbers. We need to quantify, okay. Naturalism, it considers material reality as supreme and the basis for social order. Inductivism consider true knowledge as one which is induced from observable facts and reason. You know what is inductivism. We have discussed a lot about inductivism. So these three ideologies inspired the initial sociologists to think of a social world as empirical and capable of being reduced into universal laws based on cause and effect relationship. So even in social world also, you can make universal theories by using cause and effect relationship, or by establishing cause and effect relationship. That's what the initial sociologists thought, or they tried to do rather. In sociology, positivism first came through French tradition, borrowing heavily from philosophy. Auguste Comte introduced sociological positivism. So we have talked about the context, we have talked about what is positivism, what are the elements of positivism. Now we are moving towards sociological positivism. Sociological positivism emerged as a deviation from pre-existing perspective. So what is that deviation? Early sociologists were neither purely empiricist nor inductivist. So they were, because you are dealing with human beings, not pure empiricist or inductivist. According to Saint Simon, positivism was rooted in developing science of society, which is analogous to natural science, physics. Auguste Comte framed basic assumptions of sociological positivism. According to him, true knowledge is based on thinking about a social and physical world as a system of causal relationship between realities that we can directly or indirectly observe. So you see here, directly and indirectly observe. In pure positivism, only directly observe. Here indirect observation is also discussed, okay. This is very different from arguing that we can only derive knowledge from direct observation. Yeah, exactly that same point. Comte writes, the search for law uses reason as well as observation. Not only observation, you can use reason also. So it is neither purely inductivist nor empiricist. Positivism was further enriched by Durkheim and to an extent Karl Marx also. I hope you understood why I am writing to an extent Marx also. Marx is not a pure sociologist. So we can't say Marx enriched sociology by bringing positivism, etc. On the other hand, Durkheim was a pure sociologist and he was a pure positivist also. Okay, but Marxian approach is related to somewhat positivism, okay, and somewhat he's a sociologist. So that idea should be there in your mind. Durkheim emphasized and exhibited the use of scientific methods as integral aspect of positivist understanding. Okay, the main element of sociological positivism as The scientific study of society should be confined to collecting information about a phenomena that can be objectively observed and classified. So you collect that phenomena which is objectively observed and classified. That means external realities. So positivism thus emphasizes the study of external realities. This is what the key point here. So you just need to remember this point only. Comte argued that sociologists should never be concerned with internal meanings, motives, etc. Okay. Second, positivist advocates use of scientific methods. So this is the second point. You just note down these points only in your note when you are listening to this lecture. Apart from that, you will be getting this PDF. So only the important points you keep it and that you can use as your synopsis. Okay. Initial positivists stressed on the use of methods similar to natural science, but later positivists developed methods specific to sociology. I've told you, right? Durkheim's study of suicide is considered landmark positivist research using methods from natural science, statistical techniques. But in his later writings like Theory of Religion, he used a comparative method which was specifically devised for sociology. Similarly, Weber also developed scientific methods. You will see a lot of methods which are developed by Weber: causal pluralism, causal probabilism, ideal types, Verstehen. All these methods will be discussed in detail in the coming sessions when we discuss about Weber and Durkheim. All thinkers will cover in detail, so you won't face any problem over there. Okay, all these are in fact specific short answer questions also, so we will do all these in detail. So just hold on. Now, positivism involves looking for correlation between observable facts leading to development of theory. So this is the third important point. So we have discussed external realities, we have discussed scientific methods, we are talking about theories which are supposed to be universally applicable. This implies a pure preference for inductive theories. Okay. Then positivism emphasizes not only on explanation but also on prediction. This is your fourth point. So external realities, then scientific methods, theory and prediction. The universal laws are so devised that they help in discovering the laws which generate the future course of society. Positivism also argues for development of scientific knowledge which is testable. So this is your fifth element. So we have discussed about external reality, scientific methods, theory, testing and prediction. That is, true knowledge is something which is testable. So apart from this, positivism in general emphasis on value freedom. You know what is value freedom? Or objectivity as its guiding principle. So these are the elements. So scientific methods, external realities, theory, prediction, testing, objectivity. Okay, I'm saying again, scientific methods, external reality, theory, prediction, testing and value freedom or objectivity. So these are the main elements of sociological positivism. Okay, now we will go to the critical analysis part. So first we'll talk about some contribution. So positivism is still considered as a perspective which provided initial motivation for establishment of sociology as a distinct discipline. The emphasis on theory building and objectivity provided the much required initial legitimacy to the discipline. But in the beginning of 20th century, you can see here there is a deviation. Now we are going to write the criticism. So you are using the structure words here, right? If you are deviating when you are writing the critical analysis, these structure words are very, very important because you are telling the examiner that I'm deviating and I'm now going to write the criticism by using the structure word. It could be but, although, on the other hand. These are the structure words, very important words. Seeing the structure word itself, you will understand this content is going to be very important. And you can remember this and you can use this while in comprehension also. When you're reading Hindu newspaper editorial also, as soon as you see the structure word, just keep on underlining that. That is going to be a very important information. Okay, so positivist perspective here. But in the beginning of 20th century, positivist perspective came under huge critique by virtue of various interrelated problems faced in theorization and application. So what are the various problems? You can see, as I've discussed already, one by one you can take and criticize. Okay, so gradually it was acknowledged that instead of inductive approach, deductive approach is more suitable in sociology. Okay, then moreover, Karl Popper in his book The Logic of Scientific Discovery highlighted the scientific factor of deductive approach. So he highlighted that the deductive approach is also scientific. There is nothing unscientific in deductive approach. Okay, so according to him, there is no contradiction between positivism and deductivism. You can use deductive approach, that is also scientific. There is a scientific element in deductive approach also because the method of inquiry is scientific. Positivism is considered by few as fundamental misunderstanding of social reality. Why? As sociology is dealing with human being, the study of human consciousness or meanings are essential for understanding the complete reality. So if you are not understanding that, it's a partial understanding. Thus, their emphasis, whose emphasis? Positivist emphasis on external aspect can be understood as the partial understanding of reality. And I've told you, for example, non-positivist perspective give emphasis on understanding meanings, motives, emotions, etc. Okay, then the overemphasis on universalism has led this approach being practically inapplicable. Various theories developed by the positivists claim to be universal have seldom proved the same in reality. For example, Comte's laws of social organization suffered large number of logical problems and it resulted in its rejection. Complete objectivity is not always possible in sociology. In spite of all efforts, the assumptions of positivism could never be realized in practice. And in fact, complete objectivity is neither desirable also in sociology. We have discussed that in the previous session. Moreover, the later sociologists or theorists even claim that absolute objectivity is neither possible nor desirable in sociology, because you are dealing with human beings and objectivity cannot be ensured completely. The methods used in natural science would never be used in sociology with ease. Even this use of statistical techniques by Durkheim in his theory of suicide faced severe criticism in terms of its application. I have told you this point. Although positivists later devised specific scientific methods for sociology, but these methods also suffered with problems like biases, problems in applications, etc. So what you're actually doing is you're taking all the points and you're criticizing one by one. Okay. Now, there is a limit to testability in sociology. Even universal theories framed by positivists could not be tested empirically. In due course of time, even the positivists also reverted to more reliance on reason rather than empirical test for validating their theories. Okay, so that's about the criticism. Now you can write some positive note and you can conclude your answer by writing the relevance. Okay, so I hope you understood the session. Okay, if you have any doubt related to any of the discussion that we have done in sociology or GS, you please feel free to get in touch with me here, okay, or in my number. You can write answers and you can send to me. I'll get it evaluated and we'll have a live discussion also. So see you guys. Thank you.